released first in vinyl format on September 1996 and later on compact disc on October the 1st, 1996 through Zoo Entertainment. The album was recorded and cut at Ocean Way, Hollywood and The Hook, North Hollywood from 1995 to 1996, and it was also produced by David Bottrill. The album debuted number 2 on the 200 charts upon its initial release, selling 1,480,000 copies in the first week. It was certified triple platinum by RIAA on March the 4th, 2003, and it's appeared on several lists of best albums of 1996, including Kerrang and Terrorizer. The title track won the Grammy Award for the Best Performance in 1998 and in 2003. Ænima is ranked the 6th most influential album of all time by Kerrang, and Rolling Stone have ranked the album at number 18 on the 100 greatest metal albums of all time. Mainstream with Undertow, which was recorded 3 years earlier prior to Ænima. They went platinum and they played Lollapalooza's main stage. They broke into the mainstream with MTV with Sober and Present Sex. Now this is due to Adam Jones's creative visual talents. Adam was working previously on the film industry and he designed the set for some of the Jurassic Park models. And also, if you've seen Terminator 2, the bit where the liquid Terminator comes out of the fire, you can see this imagery with the bullet holes in the chest of the liquid Terminator, the silver sort of imagery that always stuck out in my mind. That was done by Adam Jones, and if you Google around you can actually see a lot of images from that. Now, the title of the album is basically Ænima. It's pronounced that way. There are many pronunciations. I'm sure you guys in the comment section will tell me differently. And it's basically, Ænima is Latin for soul, and Ænima is basically a process that flushes out waste from the intestines, and is it's Tool's typical humor, where it combines the both soul and a kind of medical treatment that involves the anus. So yeah, it was like I said, produced by David Bottrill. Now he didn't know Tool prior to this album. He hadn't even heard of them. And the first 2 releases, the Ope EP and Undertow, were produced by Sylvia Massey. Now, why the band felt she was a good engineer and brought a very good sound to the recording, there were 2 that were kind of split against that sound they had on Undertow, and 2 that enjoyed it. So for the next follow-up record, they wanted to try somebody in a completely different angle, and David Bottrill actually worked with King Crimson, which is a big influence on Tool, and they basically sent the Tool, that is, sent the Ope EP and Undertow to David, and he's gone on stating that the Tool actually called him, and he says, "Frankly, I knew very little about the band. They contacted me and sent me Undertow and Ope, and I liked it. But he hadn't worked on that kind of heavy music too much, and they thought at first that Tool had got them very confused with someone else. So it was kind of a mixed bag at the beginning. The simple fact that Tool were much better on this record as musicians, because they've been touring extensively for 2 years, and prior to this, and they had gelled completely as a band. By the time they finished Undertow, Tool had nearly played 2 years of almost every night shows. So doing the chemistry between them made their playing more intuitive. And they said, basically, we just became a lot better as craftsmen, as players, and that changes your sound completely. And this is coming from Danny. Once you have that kind of freedom, an idea will come in your head, and you can just do it justice. But when you're not a good player, and you have all the great ideas you want, but you can't get them out, it's not going to work. So touring as much gave a lot of impact, a lot more ability to translate our emotions and ideas we once had and make us become better players. So this carries over in Ænima. Now this is also the split from the old bass player, which is Paul D'Amour, who recorded the Ope EP and Undertow. But going into this record, there are some cuts I've heard that where Paul D'Amour had laid down some tracks for this album, but it wasn't meant to be. And actually in the autobiography of Maynard, he indicates that he went to see a kind of one of these predictors where they take the spoon or the magic ball, the mystic, whatever, and she predicted that there's some changes will come to Tool and that the bass player will leave. And this was actually way before, but in his autobiography he kept that to himself, so nobody knew about that, but it did happen. So when we were writing for Ænima, Paul was starting to get more frustrated about not playing enough guitar, Kerry explained. He really wanted to be the guitar player in the band, even though we started on Undertow as a bass player. He wanted to hire another bassist, and we were like, there's no way we're getting another asshole in this band to deal with. So Paul was trying to push for other things, and as a byproduct, maybe he wasn't working so hard on the songs that we were working on. And it got to a point where almost about halfway through there came a halt, and they basically let Paul go. And then they had to spend like a transitional period while they're still recording for like 4 and 6 months, going through people trying to find a replacement for Paul. They auditioned lots of great players before they found bassist Justin Chancellor, and he went on to do the Ænima recording. The band didn't necessarily want to replace D'Amour with a well-known bassist. They were more interested in finding someone who was dedicated and more into experimentation. Along the way, they auditioned Scott Reeder from Chaos, Frank Kavanagh from Filter, and Shepard Stevenson from Pygmy Love Circus, and numerous other bass players before inviting Justin into the band. He was already a member of the band, UK band called Peach, and they opened for Tool in the early 90s, and he basically flew from England to try out for them, and he felt a bit of anxiety to join this band. Justin was the missing link for Tool, Jones said. We tried out other guys, but they weren't really great, and maybe not even technically. They were actually better, but Justin had the writing, he had the ideas, he was really artistic, and he had a really great person to get along with and easy to get along with. So it was kind of like new improved Tool with other stuff that we did. It was more like Coke Classic, added Kerry. Everyone we auditioned for knew the songs and played great, but the different thing is Justin had going on this ability to click with us in a freeform jam where the others couldn't. We go, okay, let's just make something up here on the spot, and when we did, we instantly knew Justin was that guy because he fit in instantly that way. Though he had landed his dream gig, Justin Chancellor didn't find being in Tool as much fun as first. Being invited to join a celebrated, groundbreaking band that was really he was a very big fan of, Chancellor was nervous and initially overwhelmed. Tool wanted him to relocate to Los Angeles right away and take over where D'Amour left, which only kind of boosted his anxiety. He states, I was confronted with all these new materials, which were incredibly challenging and intimidating, he said. I had just moved to America with only my guitar and my clothes, which is very tough on a personal level. And then I thought for a long time of mine that I was trying to feel confident and stuff was coming up and what we were sharing was good. They told me it was worthy and I should start working on it. But it was hard for me to believe them. All the time I could think about the stuff that they had already done, which was benchmark for me. I wasn't a confident person, and it wasn't very much of a struggle. It was more of a struggle of a situation I was in. It was almost impossible for me to enjoy the experience, which is everything I ever wanted. Now, Tool's frontman, Maynard Jane Keenan, did research in order to kind of come up with the passages of the creativity on the spiritual side On the previous efforts, he was more dealing with his inner turmoil, such as sexual abuse or dark side of religion. More, he felt he had to get this out of him. And on this record, he felt that he could express more spiritual elements. So he started doing heavy research, and actually in his book, in this time period between Undertow and Anemia, he went to a ritual and kind of tripped out there with the Indians and saw stuff in his mind and came up with a lot of the ideas and concepts for this album. Right around Anemia, I was trying to figure out to transmute stuff to write about and let it go, finding different parts to disintegrate the negativity. I did a lot of historic, spiritual and religious reading. I did a lot of mathematics and reading psychological books, just as an introspective, a sound of mind. Keenan also started taking special care of his voice during Anemia. When he was younger, he would go out and drink and hang out in smoky bars and not really think about what that would do to one's voice. But he states, the best way I can describe is to use the pregnancy metaphor, he said. You're all out running around and everyone's like, hey, let's go to this place. Everybody unconsciously wants to walk into the smoky pub, and you are there and the pregnant woman is standing next to the door breathing it in. I really can't go in there. And they go, alright, you can go in there. Okay, we'll find another place that's not so fun so the pregnant woman can hang out. It was this kind of concept. Now, Hooker of a Penis isn't just a fuck you song. It's one of the heaviest songs on Ænima. Hooker with a Penis starts with hazy waves of guitars before building into a surging psychotic rhythm. Then the vocals kick in with a short blast and range that accumulate the harsh pull no punches of the chorus, seemingly directing a righteous fan off. Now what that means is, apparently the backstory is that Maynard and the band was selling out and they were changing their style. So his reaction to this was basically penning this song to say a big fuck you to people who are thinking that kind of way or that kind of angle at all, because they absolutely were not and still are not a sellout band. Now Stinkfist is kind of it's not what you think and what people have thought it's about, which is fist fucking. It's actually about an alternative universe. MTV aired the video and they actually changed the title of the song to #1 song #1. People immediately hear the title, think Stinkfist, and they hear words and assume it's about one thing. They can't take that leap, which is about exploring other universes, other possibilities in this life. Keenan said, they're assuming right away it's about fist fucking. Of course, that would be the comic side of it, but it's not really what it's about. It's about alternative perspectives, about destination. It's about you knowing where you want to go or exploring other areas. It's kind of like that scene in Stargate where James Spader is sticking his hands through the Stargate. He's kind of moving into that next world. First your finger, then deep knuckle, then your arm, then your whole body, and you're moving into a new perspective. The title track is about LA falling into the ocean, and it's about what really matters, and it's also what Bill Hicks experienced in LA. He didn't like LA, he didn't like the environment, the people. He felt it was fabricated and fake, and funny enough, Maynard felt the same, and the album artwork Aenima included a lectural image of the west coast of the United States, which is California, disappearing when the picture was viewed from a different angle. So if you've got this, go and check it out, because I've seen it. Also, there's an illustration of Bill Hicks, and the second song in the album is entitled to him, where he had a lot to say, he had nothing to say. This is Bill Hicks, this is quoting him, and he was actually good friends with Maynard for the last couple of years of his life, and I think he was one of the last people that Maynard spoke to over the phone before his death, because it's very sad. In the book he mentions that like Bill was speaking to him on the phone and all of a sudden he's not around or speaking to him anymore. But the title track is the idea of Los Angeles being washed away by a series of catastrophic geographical events, and this really appealed to him, and it actually appealed to Bill Hicks, and I think he was doing a homage to Bill Hicks. So on the surface, like, perhaps we just saying California is Sodom and Gomorrah that needs to be wiped away, he said. But really, you need to consider the way our economic and political systems are set up. If someone happened to Los Angeles on a major scale, would just be taken out the picture within 48 hours of the world's economic system. We really have a hard time, if not collapse completely. So they're kind of dumbfounded by this. You know, he says, do you really need your post? Do you really need all these things to involve who you, or to see who you are? So that's basically what this means, and this is the title track. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this about this fantastic album, Ænima, which is my favorite of the Tool albums. There's a lot of dispute, you know, Lazarus is the best, etc. For me, this is the best, has been for like 25 years of my life. So, you know, drop some comments in there. Let's have a discussion about what you think the album means to you personally, on a personal level. And also, you know, drop some likes and some comments, and I'll keep this going because I love Tool, we love Tool, so why not keep building on that? Okay, thank you.